Here at Capcoder, we are delighted to introduce our new and revolutionary all-electric machine. Based on our best-selling Micro Mono, the Micro Mono E eliminates the need for compressed air to operate. And with options such as automatic bottle in-feed, integrated filling, and automatic cap placement, it makes the Micro Mono E unique in the industry. Ideally suited for ultra-clean rooms wanting to eliminate any potential contamination of compressed air, or areas where compressed air is not available. The Micro Mono E requires only a standard 13 amp plug to operate. The all-electric version still excels anywhere from small batch work to high output production. Capcoder are excited to demonstrate their bestseller, the Micro Mono benchtop filling and capping machine. With unparalleled ease of use, flexibility, and a multitude of configurations, from fully manual to fully automatic operation, the Micro Mono truly does stand in a league of its own. Using the same control system as our flagship monoblock, it allows us to incorporate sophisticated technology such as load cells, precision sensors, and torque transducers. It can be integrated with a number of different style fillers, and as well as standard capping, can accommodate styles such as trigger sprays, press-on, and even crimp capping. Originally designed for customers that have a frequent product changeover, the Micro Mono takes advantage of quick release tooling, meaning product changeover can take as little as 2 minutes.
Welcome back everybody to CBD Live. I'm joined by Chad Walkerden, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Correct, yes.
And Alex Fraser, and we're here to talk about a new app aimed at medical cannabis patients. So I guess a good place to start really would be if you could introduce yourself, Alex. Just tell me a little bit about who you are and the kind of work that you do at Grow Pharma.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having us here today, Gordon. My name is Alex Fraser. I am a patient first and foremost. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease back in when I was 19 years old in 2010, and spent a lot of time, utilizing cannabis to great benefit for my own health and speaking to many other patients who were doing the same. I started an advocacy organization with a number of patients in 2014 called the United Patients Alliance, and we advocated for legal access to medical cannabis for a number of years. When the law change happened, I was very fortunate to be picked up to start working for Grow, which was called Grow Biotech at the time. I now work for Grow Pharma, which is our pharma division of what is now Grow Group. When I started working for Grow Pharma, we were just about to import the first ever bulk batch of medical cannabis into the UK. That was in February 2019. So a big part of what I do is educating and supporting doctors writing prescriptions, making sure that we have all the different medicines that we might require for those prescriptions here in the UK, and also supporting patients as they sort of navigate this system that we have in the UK for access to cannabis medicines.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, that kind of leads on to nicely how you met Chad, I guess. So if you could kind of tell me a little bit about yourself, Chad, and how you came to create the OnTrack app.
Yes, so my name's Chad Walker. I'm the founder of OnTracker. How it came about was needed to solve a problem for myself. I worked in the London Borough of Tower Hamlets for 4 years as a frontline social worker. Before that, I'd worked in government in Australia, qualified forensic social worker by trade. Before I started all this, studied education, social work, and postgrad studies at Birkbeck Institute in London. And I got diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer. So Alex and I share a personal story that both brought us to the industry and both connected us in person before we've ended up doing this collaboration together. And really, I needed a way to be able to collate information about what was going on for me and share that in the most accurate and fastest way with my healthcare professionals. That's a very, very condensed version of what occurred. Obviously, trying to work through a stage 4 cancer, which came back on 2 separate occasions, and my mother got diagnosed at the same time, created a vulnerability and desperation that I think is shared by many people and many carers, many patients in the cannabis medicine space. And that understanding that I have and continue to go through as I progress as a man, first and foremost, in navigating my own health, keeps me fresh, keeps me understanding the ways that we can be better. And then it's about the collaborations that have occurred with Alex, his team, and others as well, to be able to make this continuously just, how do we just stay centered on patients? How do we improve access for patients? And yeah, how do we continue just moving this forward, and can go into more things as well.
So the new version of the app, which Growfather have put together, it's CALYX or CALYX, is that correct?
Correct.
I think it's technically pronounced CALYX, but
okay.
We're not too big.
All right. So, so sort of what is the function of the app? How does it work, and what are you trying to achieve by bringing this app to the market?
So, I mean, do you want to sort of start up on that, Chad, and then I'll sort of give it if you want to give sort of the basics, and then I'll sort of explain the more UK, the sort of goals we have on our side.
Yeah, 100%. What it's about at its core is we want people to feel their best, right? So when we have a look at our population, who's using cannabis medicines? It's people in pain, seizure disorders, mental health, cancer, people that aren't sleeping. Like, there's a number of different conditions that why people are coming to this, and they're getting benefit from it. And while cannabis medicine is going to be very helpful, we need a way to be able to move away from anecdotal evidence and really bring in real world evidence to be able to drive patient outcomes, and then help policymakers and be able to really move cannabis medicine to where it needs to be as a legitimate healthcare option. So On Tracker has a range of different ways that we collect that. Firstly, it's about collecting inputs from the cannabis medicine that they're taking. Also considering that if we have a look at the patient's needs, it's likely that they may be using some other medications as well. So if we want to get a safety profile, we want to be able to demonstrate what are the possible interactions between the cannabis medicine and other medications that people may be taking. And we want to be able to understand that. We also have a very big emphasis on mental health and the lifestyle of an individual, and we capture all that in the information as well. We've just launched a new dosing tool, which is then going to be able to measure titration and onset. Because obviously when someone first comes to cannabis medicine, and this is the wave that we're going to be getting with the numbers that we've got in the UK for where it's going to go, increasingly people are going to get there. And no two plants are alike. And that's quite common in the cannabis space. So what we really want to be able to demonstrate is, if we see one, firstly, it's always focused on the individual. It's always focused on the patient to start with. But then after we have a big enough data set to be able to collate 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people, and group them together with the same data, we're then going to be able to drive outcomes. And I think that's where Alex could come in and share a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Chad, for that. Yeah, so when Chad first showed me On Tracker, I was so impressed with the level of depth it goes into in terms of a patient's ability to track their health and, you know, what they're doing day to day in their life and their lifestyle, and how that improves or perhaps doesn't improve depending on, you know, how they're doing day to day. And I thought we need a tool like this in the UK. We have a real problem with medical cannabis where essentially the end goal is the NHS. This is where we're aiming for. This is where these medicines need to get to, so that all patients can be can able to access these medicines, you know, regardless. That's what our NHS does. It's why it's so fantastic, and we absolutely need to be heading in that direction. The problem that we have is, with cannabis medicines, there is such a wide range of different symptoms and ailments for which they can be of use, and within those as well, multiple symptoms. And there's also, as Chad says, no two plants are alike. I'd say no two cannabis medicines are alike, and we have a wide range of different medicines. And, you know, from experience, it's very inconsistent. It's not like this particular medicine for MS patients and this particular medicine for you know, epilepsy patients. There's a lot of variability between different patients, even if they have the exact same diagnosis and very similar symptoms in terms of how they present. So it's not just a tool for helping those patients in their day-to-day lives, managing their health and sort of tracking how these medicines impact various different aspects of their health in terms of there is symptom management, but also things like weight and sleep and appetite and relationships as well with other people. It's also, as Chad rightly says, it's about collating that data into something that's tangible and that we can use to provide the efficacy data that is lacking in order to get these medicines onto the NHS. And it also, as a third point, I think it's really key, and you did touch on this, Chad, is that it's about communicating with the clinicians as well. So a big part of my job is supporting clinicians and helping them understand how cannabis medicines are helping their patients. And it's great when you have clinicians that have a lot of time, they can give it to patients, they can listen to patients. And in the systems that we have in the UK, they see them on a monthly basis. So they do get some feedback, but there's always room for improvement. There's always room for more information and more data. So we're giving patients the ability, if they choose to link the app with their doctor so they can feedback almost in real time exactly how these medicines are helping them, so that their doctor can see exactly the impact that it's having on that individual. And as the doctor becomes more aware of this, perhaps they become more confident in prescribing these medicines. Perhaps they're recommending these medicines to their colleagues who have patients who are also in similar points where they need help, or they're not catered for by other medications that they've been trialing. So that's really the key for us. It's supporting patients using these medicines. It's helping doctors understand the impact these medicines are having on patients. But it's also gathering the data that we need to get these medicines towards the NHS and to that all important sort of subsidised access.
So
I would add.
Carry on.
I would add one thing, if that's okay. I would add that it's revolutionizing a community-based data sharing platform. So I know we're talking about data, and there may be some questions for yourself or the audience. And the audience obviously can't ask us anything at this stage, but you can. And when we talk about data, we need to be very precise in what we're doing and how we're doing it, and the ethics behind it and the objectives. Because Alex and I have come from a position where we're both patients. So before we launched the app, we wanted to ensure that, hey, what are the key things we need to get right? And the first thing we communicated was about data and privacy. Because while we're here talking about data, like, the opportunity is for people that are utilizing cannabis medicines to be part of this, people to be part of this change. Like, one of the things that's so, like, I'm traveling around the world a fair bit and getting to see different stories from a lot of different people who are utilizing cannabis medicines. And there's this huge passion that's associated with it. Now, that passion, we're providing that platform to say, hey, if we want to change, this is how we can go about it. And there's the option in that pathway, as Alex noted. It's not about, hey, we want to take. We give options. There's pathways to say, if you're not super comfortable, although we've said X, Y, and Z about how we store data and what we do, if that's not you, remain anonymous. Remain anonymous so your personal identity isn't there, but you can contribute to this if you want to be able to ensure that what you're taking, if it's changing your life, how do you make it better for others by also engaging in this platform as well? So I think that's something that I'm very passionate about, and just wanted to come in. And I know I jumped over the top there, so apologies, but
that's fine.
I think it needs to kind of be said from the beginning so people are kind of clear that there are two different pathways, and personal information it's available to not share that information at all.
So when you say two pathways, patients can be more visible if they choose to. Is that what you mean?
Correct. So Alex, do you want to go, or do you want me to continue?
Yeah, sure. I think it's entirely up to the patient. It's to do with the initial point where you sign up. All that we require to use the app is an email address. So I could go and create a brand new email address today with no personal information connected to it, and I can start using the app, and I can start contributing data, and I can start sharing that potentially with people around me as well. There's a great way we can share that data in your sort of daily reports on social media and other things. So you can absolutely use the app to your benefit, tracking your health, tracking how the medicines help you, contributing the data on a larger scale and completely anonymously. Or if you choose to, and this is sort of a requirement in order to connect you with a doctor, perhaps you put in a little bit more personal information. And we're asking for names and dates of birth. It's not a huge amount of information. But when we say two streams, it's very much to do with the information that you input at the beginning of utilizing the app and what you feel comfortable doing at that point. So, and it's worth clarifying, because I do feel like patients are very wary of data capture platforms. I think there's a big issue with data security on a worldwide scale, and I'm sure we've all seen the social network and various other reports on this issue. And we understand that, and we understand that people are not necessarily going to want to give huge amounts of personal information out, but they also do want to engage with capturing the data for these medicines and helping move them forward. And we're giving them that option.
Obviously, Alex, as you say, you've been involved in medical cannabis in some form or another for quite a while now. Are you finding, with this app and just generally, that doctors are becoming more receptive to medical cannabis in the last sort of couple of years, or is there still a bit of a stigma for those who, don't already have a foothold?
I'd say it's certainly moving in the right direction. It's a slow process. I think doctors are very keen to do their own learning around these medicines. We support them with that, but they also go and they do their own learning in their own time. And that can take some time for them to feel comfortable to getting to prescribing. So we have like an onboarding process where we're gradually sort of informing and supporting doctors. And then there's a sort of there's a moment where they're like, okay, I do feel happy to prescribe now, and we can connect them with clinics, and we can help them in their own practice and how to prescribe these medicines. But it is difficult, and one of the bottlenecks we have is a lack of prescribers in this space. So we're constantly trying to increase that number. I think it's a big part of the work that's being done by the industry in general, is to educate and inform all clinicians, not just those who potentially are prescribing. We do education sessions for groups of nurses who are working with patient organizations, like cancer charities, for example. And it's absolutely integral that we are reaching out to clinicians to try and get a realistic understanding of the potential of these medicines. And I think you go online and you see an awful lot of information. If you're a nurse and maybe a couple of your patients have been using cannabis, you go online and do some research, but the information available to you is, well, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of information about cannabis and CBD out there, and not all of it is 100% accurate, not all of it. And then when you go to look at, if you want to look at randomized controlled studies, there's also an sort of absence of data at a certain level. So communicating the reality of medical cannabis and its potential for patients. I think, moving away from the idea that it's sort of a panacea or that it's got hugely curative properties, but also reinforcing how beneficial it can be for managing certain conditions and certain symptoms. And it's a big part of what we do, and it is a slow slog to get more doctors on board into the industry, and it's something that we're working very hard on. But we are seeing a lot of movement, more so this year as of sort of 2021 has come in. I feel like more doctors are engaging, more clinicians are reaching out for education sessions, and we're seeing quite a rapid increase in terms of prescriptions as well. So it's taken a while to get the ball rolling. I should say to people, it's one of the slowest growing industries in the world, but it is moving now, and it's picking up pace too, which is good to see.
It does. This app does seem to be just another example of patients who are sort of driving this whole initiative. Would you say that's kind of true? It's patients who are demanding access to cannabis, and now they're sort of stepping out and doing what they can to support the cause.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, it was patients at the forefront of the campaigns that led to the law change that has enabled this industry of CBMPs in the UK to actually exist at all. And in my role, I represent patients. I feel very strongly and passionately that I have a responsibility to represent patients, and sometimes that means getting into discussions or debates, shall we say, with colleagues and things into how this has to work so that patients get the best possible care and the best possible medicines. But yeah, and one of the reasons why I was so passionate about working with Chad particularly was because he had that understanding and that experience of what that means. And it reflects when you look at the app and you look at how it works. You're like, well, these are all the things that I need to know if I'm going through a difficult time with a chronic condition. I need to know about my weight. I need to know about how my sleep is. But I also, your relationships with the other people in your life as well, are such an important part of how you recover and are often strained by the disease, not necessarily due to anyone's fault, but because of the stress and the struggle of getting through that period in your life. And I know from conversations that we've had that I'm sure are probably too deep to go into right now with Chad about that, he understands that. And you need that understanding if you're going to be working in this space, if you're going to be catering to these patients. And we have a really interesting dynamic where a lot of the patients are very well informed about how cannabis works and how medical cannabis, the potential that it has as a medicine. A lot of patients will know a lot more about the different cultivars, for example, the strains that are available, than perhaps even the doctors do. So there's a real push for doctors to catch up with that patient level of knowledge. And it's not all patients, but there's certainly a subset that are pushing for this and are using that knowledge to demand a better services and demand better products and move things forward. And I'm just a part of that. And it's fantastic to work with people like Chad, and it's something I'm really passionate about, is to bring more patients into this industry as well, so that their voices can be heard and so they can play a role.
So the app is already out and available now, is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so how do patients get involved, and what kind of information are you sort of getting from this app exactly? You mentioned particular strains potentially that patients might be using. What other information might be useful to support wider prescribing on the NHS?
Well, yeah, it's exactly like you say. It's not the strain specifically, but there are certain strains that are sort of the basis for certain products. So you have flower products and you have oil products. And one of the important things that we're doing is giving patients the ability to input exactly the medications that they're taking and the exact dosage, and then be able to score their various different symptoms and the impact that it has on their lives as well. So is particularly how we are capturing this data. Certainly, there's different levels at which you can do that. It's very much up to the patient how much data you input. If you don't want to track your weight, then don't track your weight. If you are tracking seizure activity, then that's obviously very specific into, you have to measure severity. And Chad has has developed a really fantastic system of what you call cards, don't you, Chad? But it's essentially that you can set up the app to sort of pre-existing personalized, where it just is
like shortcuts.
Yeah, Chad will explain it better than I can, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I think I would like to say, like, while it started with patients, what Alex and I both believe, and where I think we need to get it to, where the movement and where we need to get to of being a legitimate medicine involves clinicians, it involves doctors. So while we started with patients, and patients have been a key to this, we don't get to where we need to get to without prescribers and then policymakers. And that wave is already coming. We're working through a process of change. So I think we've got to really give credit to the early doctors that have come out and been able to say, hey, I can see this. And I think the result, what I've seen in other countries of what has occurred, has been doctors that it's very similar with the process of change, how people are like myself. I didn't want to take cannabis to start with. I think I was going to get crazy, right? And then it went to go from a stage 4 cancer, very limited chance of life. If it comes back again, it's virtually you. It came back again, and I asked myself the question, okay, well, I need to stay on chemo. Why don't I try this thing? Like, why not? And then I tried it and I went, oh, I saw that so wrong. How did I get that so wrong? And you see that every day, this is what I do now. And I think doctors, not that they thought, there's new knowledge. There's new knowledge that's available. And so what we want to be able to do is like really work to be able to provide appointment efficiency so that doctors can get really accurate information to help their understanding so that they can make better decisions, inform with an evidence base their colleagues, and create this movement. So I just wanted to kind of add that in there. Would you agree with that, Alex, or anything to add just in terms of that space?
No, I agree with everything you just said. I was going to say that you're spot on there.
Yeah. So with the app, sorry, go.
I was just going to ask, did you speak to doctors when you were developing this app about just finding out the kind of information that would be helpful to them?
Of course, yeah. So the whole process has been, from the earliest day, everything has been, and this has been a 7-year process to get to where we were and to where we are. And it's been peer reviewed from the beginning. It's then been consulted with patients throughout the majority of the time. Doctors have been involved, psychologists have been involved, and then each process of reiteration has gone out. We've worked with a number of academics as well. So it's been academics, doctors, patients. It's been in the tech industry as well, to have a look at how we can make the experience as easy as possible. So it's while it's been me at the front, there's so many people that have supported to get there. And then the relationship that we've got with Grow and Alex and his team in driving that through with some of the input, it's continuously improving this product.
was going to say it's really important to understand that it's not a finished. I know it sounds terrible. It's certainly ready for patients to use it, but it's not a final stage. We are absolutely going to be updating the app. There are new things that are going to be added to it in the future. And a big part of what I'm doing at the moment with the app is showing how it works to doctors so they can make the use of it and they can potentially recommend it to their patients if they think it's appropriate. And obviously we're getting a lot of feedback from the doctors, or would maybe tweak this here, and maybe this could be phrased differently, and what if we could capture this data? And absolutely we're going to be making updates based on the feedback that we're getting from doctors as well as patients as well. So it's an ongoing process. And another thing I think it's really important to understand is that as well as everything that we've sort of talked about that the app does, it is a platform through which we can then launch, or we can facilitate other real-world evidence capture studies. If you're perhaps a producer of a certain medicine and you want to know about the impact that it has on whichever patient group, we can send messages out to that patient group and say, would you like to be involved in this? It'll involve a 5-minute survey once a month, and then we can send that survey via the app, gives them a little notification once a month, prompts them, click a couple of buttons and fill it in. My pain is a 6, my anxiety is a 2, whatever it is. And then we get that data back as well. And obviously it's all very transparent. We'll be telling everyone exactly who the data is going to when we're doing these things, and it all have to be set up and approved, and patients would have to sign off on it before we're fine, not just firing questionnaires at them willy-nilly. But that is very much one of the goals of the app as well, is to be a platform through which others can potentially gather data.
Okay, brilliant. Well, it sounds like it could be a hugely positive tool for medical cannabis, and most importantly, getting more medical cannabis on the NHS.
Correct.
So, yeah, I really appreciate you guys talking with me today, and we'll be sure to keep an eye on developments with you guys in the future.